We're gonna start. Okay, welcome back to another episode of The Small Bear Show. I'm your host, Alex S. Johnson, and I'm a professional writer, editor, and publisher, and I do Nocturnicorn books, and we publish um, high quality literary fiction in a variety of genres, mostly dark fiction because that is what um, I'm comfortable with and have done a lot of work in dark fiction, which I mean that encompasses areas like sort of like dark erotica, and it also encompasses horror and bizarro science fiction, fantasy. But I'm mostly a music journalist, and I consider myself, first and foremost a music journalist. So a lot of my projects um, have to do with my obsessive love of bands like Bauhaus and Black Sabbath, and also artists like Leonard Cohen. And I really love music. So, um, our guests today are return guests, and they're both incredibly distinguished women. And we have Ellyn Mabey, who is a sort of a fixture of the the Southern California art scene, has been a performer at slam poetry events, was in the movie Dancing at the Blue Iguana, playing a character loosely based on herself reading her own poetry opposite Sandra Oh in a movie by Michael Radford, who made Il Postino. And it also starred people like Jennifer Tilly and Daryl Hannah. And she's been um, part of this kind of this this sort of collective, a community, a central part of this community of artists, spoken word people, performers, punk rockers, um, musicians, and actors and actresses around Southern California. Is internationally renowned. Uh, Her book, uh, The Cowardice of Amnesia, which it came out in 1998, and I'll just kind of show it to y'all, is a classic. It's considered a classic, um, and it was actually um, published by Henry Rollins under his 213 61 imprint, which is the date of Henry's birth. And the cover photography and artwork was done by uh, Viggo Mortensen, the actor and poet and musician, who's also, you know, not only, you know, known for movies like The Lord of the Rings, obviously, but also this is one of his albums, Canciones de Invierno, right, by Viggo Mortensen. And it's a very beautiful album, and in Spanish and in English. And I believe this is his photography, right? So got this little lovely little pamphlet. I think this came from Starbucks, that I bought it at Starbucks. And it's got, like, in Spanish and English. And
He
uh,
also speaks Norwegian.
he also speaks Norwegian. I am actually Norwegian by descent. My great grandfather was a machinist in Oslo, and I've actually been to Oslo. And I was a guest of this woman named Agneta with a one of those Scandinavian long, surnames, and who's a friend of mine, and is the lead singer of this band called Matter Mortem, which is a cult band. I mean, they're beloved by internationally beloved. It's one of those bands like Bauhaus, um, that are that people worship, you know, and they just did a documentary about them, which is an award-winning documentary called Howl of the Underdog, about Matter Mortem. I strongly encourage you to check them out. Some of the people who are fans of Ellen Mabie's are the late great Wanda Coleman, um, and who said of this book, "A magnificent pathos is the power that drives Ellen Mabie, placing her among the finest voices to emerge from the pre-millennium West." Um, uh, Eileen Miles said, "Ellen Mabie is the best poet on her side of the century." Well, that was in 1998, so it's 2025. It's chilling how 2025 it is. And the this was edited by Exene Cervenkova, aka Exene Cervenka, um, uh, obviously of X and the Knitters and a number of other um, little bands like Antichrist. You know, she had a record store in LA for a while, and I think on Melrose. And so Ellen is just a delightful person and a really strong encourager of everybody to participate in the arts, no matter who you are. Ellen will encourage you to participate. And I was a nobody. I was teaching at at um at Cal State Dominguez Hills, right? And my coworker Melissa Williams told me about this woman who was a really delightful performer and this poet who, out of Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center in Venice Beach. And she said, "You got to check her out because she's quite something." And, she's very shy. She giggles a lot, but she's an absolute genius in poetry. And so I was like, cool. So, I was being a huge, I mean, I'm a retired, professor of English literature and composition. So I was like, okay, so I got to check this out, right? And I uh, friend friend requested Ellen on Facebook, and we immediately we started talking. I mean, it was just wonderful, and so that was how I got to know Ellen. And then Amelie Frank is a kind of a is another kind of a fixture of the LA arts scene, but also I think a kind of a treasure and a powerhouse of the arts, and has been recognized by the city of Los Angeles, by Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center, who actually she was formerly on the board of directors for Beyond Baroque, which which has been around since 1968 for the people who like. So I was 2 years old when Beyond Baroque, opened its doors for the first time, right? And so between Amelie and is also a very, very well-known and distinguished poet, as well as the web mistress for one Billy Bob Thornton. And so
Now, there's
um,
not two of them, that's for sure.
there's not there's that's for damn sure. I mean, the Academy Award winning screenwriter and director and actor of, you know, Sling Blade, among many other films, Bad Santa, which was directed by Terry Zwigoff of the Cheap Suit Serenaders, who made the movie Crumb.
I didn't realize that Terry Zwigoff was one of the cheap suit serenaders. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I remember like in when I was at Davis, I went to Davis UC Davis for my undergrad degree, and we would see Crumb and the late great Aline Kaminsky Crumb all the time because um, R and R whatever Robert Crumb and Aline Kaminsky used to live in Winters, which is just a hop on a skip from Davis, right? And I would see them like I'd be at like you know the Cafe Roma or whatever. It's kind of a pretentious hipster cafe in Davis, and I would just see like them, and we'd be like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'd wave to them. They actually recognize me, because my dad, Stephen M. Johnson, is a was in on the ground floor of Whole Earth Review, which is a spinoff from Whole Earth Catalog. So he and Crumb and people like Gary Snyder, Ginsberg was in that, and our friend Ken Goffman, Are You Serious? Of Mondo 2000 was in there. You know, William Gibson, everybody, William S. Burroughs. So those really, so Crumb knew him, and so we'd gone to the Weirdo show, right, in Davis, and with Crumb and Ellyn, and then they had the Cheap Suit Serenaders were playing as well, and Terry Zwigoff was there, and Crumb looked like he just wanted to pop out of his own skin suit. Didn't look like he was comfortable in his own body. And he's really incredibly shy, and I think probably autistic because his ways of responding are atypical, right? And he seems genuinely perplexed that people might think that he's sexist or racist for some of his work that he's done. And so I got I got this book. It's actually a library copy that I bought. It's called Don't Hide the Madness. This is William S. Burroughs in conversation with Allen Ginsberg, and it's a really fascinating book. I highly recommend it. It's got
Oh,
a
Crumb
cover
did the
cover
cover.
by Crumb, yeah. So a lot of real interesting overlap in our lives.
Would you like to hear an interesting overlap?
I would love to hear an interesting
That poem of
overlap.
Erica Erdman's I sent you today,
Yes.
she first performed in full costume and makeup as William Burroughs.
Oh my God.
She had aged facial makeup on her. She looked like an old man. I have a photo of her from that performance. It was a
Could you
cross-dressing event at the Iguana Cafe, and she cross-dressed as Burroughs and read that piece that I sent you, the Apocrypha.
I will publish the photo in the book. And
I'll
and
have to dig up the photo, which is going to be a bit of a
oh,
challenge.
okay, no worries. Yeah, we don't have to do that. But so Amelie is referring to the woman who did many of the illustrations for the Ellen Mabie coloring book, which
Yes,
was
she did.
published by Amelie Frank through the Sacred Beverage Press, and this came out. When
That's
did
one of her illustrations on the cover.
Yes. So that is and it comes with a box of crayons. So let me see. These crayons. So
Oh, those things. Yeah.
yes. And
Paper dolls
I
and
bought
paper.
like 200 of them.
and it's really and I colored in the cover. And it's got I don't know if there's an Ellen maybe mermaid or what is that? It's just
The
a mermaid
mermaid
or what?
reading Kafka.
What, a mermaid reading Franz Kafka?
Yes,
How can you tell?
because she alludes to that in one of her poems.
Oh, okay. And this is the lovely and brilliant Ellen Mabie, um, on the back. She has traveled the Western United States opening for the Karma Bums. Her poetry has been published in Tsunami, Blue Satellite, Six, Dance to the Iguana, On Target, Red Dance Floor, Caffeine, and frequently heard on KPFK, KCRW, and KXLU in Los Angeles. Now, one of your admirers, Ellen, heard you on, I believe, KPFK, and thought, I need to get in touch with this woman. Who was that?
Oh, I was shaken when I heard that Grail Marcus.
Grail Marcus. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
know.
Grail
I
Marcus.
couldn't believe it. He couldn't find me, so he reached out to Henry, and then they wrote me, and I was like almost wanting to faint. I almost did. I felt like I couldn't believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
Grail Marcus for all two of our viewers is a Berkeley educated UC Berkeley educated sociologist. He's the author of Mystery Train. He also writes for Rolling Stone. He does the top 10, what was it, the top 10, you
Oh,
know,
like real life. Yeah.
the
You know,
real life.
he might have heard me possibly maybe on KPFA or something because he's
Yeah.
up. Or, yeah, but I mean, he must have somehow. Yeah, but yeah, he writes these lists of stuff that that he gravitates to, and he's very cool. Very cool.
I saw him speak once, and I think he was talking about film. I believe it may have been Brian De Palma at the you were talking about on about the old midnight um midnight special. Was it Midnight Special bookstore? Remember that one?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
would and I remember I would it was sort of like being a kid in the candy store, right? For film buffs especially because they had so much great stuff, and I got a book about I think Italian horror film, because I'm really into those movies. And so let me see. So most recently, um and I wanted to show you your copy. I'm still working on everybody's books. So, because for the major contributors, I'm sending them hardcover copies, and I'm also doing illustrations within. So Tara
It's
Vanflower
so
just got her copies, and so this is I just did this thing of you, and this is like David J. Haskins and Peter Murphy from Bauhaus, and so so they sort of like it's on the left you have like the doom rich environment of Bauhaus, and then it shades into kind of psychedelic colors when it hits Ellen maybe, and then all bets are off, right? So so hope you like that. I mean, it's always, it's always it's just an excuse to draw you basically. And so like this book is just amazing. I feel like so fortunate to be able to curate these books because they're real labors of love, and they're unlike a lot of publishers, I think, I or indie publishers or whatever. I don't do this primarily. I don't know what motivates most people, actually. I don't care what motivates most people. I just follow my obsessive loves. And my obsessive loves, led me to friend, one Poppy Z. Bright, the pen name of this writer in New Orleans. He now goes by the name Billy Martin. Is a transgender man and is a really lovely and deep and beautiful soul. And he and I became friends as well at the same time that we became mutual friends with Caitlin R. Kiernan, who is like went on to win the World Fantasy Award two times, to win the Bram Stoker Award two times. Is a finalist for the Nebula and the Shirley Jackson Award, and is considered by the New York Times to be one of our essential writers of dark fiction, right? And when I was just starting out, um, I decided that I was going to apprentice myself to the people that I admired so much. And so I was a subscriber to Cemetery Dance magazine, and I read about this woman named Poppy Z. Bright, and so there was an ad for this book called Swamp Fetus, Swamp Fetus in Cemetery Dance, and I thought I have to get that. I didn't even know what it was. I just was so intrigued by the title and the cover, right? So I got myself a copy of this limited edition book. I read it and then I was instantly in love with this woman. I was just like, oh my gosh, fantastic. So beautiful, such a deeply immersive, rich, um, masterful style, because I'm really all about the style and people who can take me to the same places that music takes me. And we had two things in common, Poppy and I, and Caitlin as well. Um, Bauhaus and William S. Burroughs. And besides a love of, writers like Hunter S. Thompson and sort of 60s counterculture, cyberculture, and that kind of thing, right? So I think that's something that we all have in common among us is counterculture. And then through being a music journalist, I knew and had interviewed for Metal Maniacs magazine a woman named Jarbo Devereaux, who is also from New Orleans. I don't remember where they live now, but who gave me permission to publish, print the lyrics to her song, The Lonely Voyeur. And Jarbo is best known for her, well, many, many collaborations with bands like Neurosis and Godflesh, and also David J. Haskins from Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, and who founded Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, and wrote the song Bela Lugosi's Dead. And so it's an embarrassment of riches. She was in Swans, and we have Tara Van Flower from the bands Lycia, and who also collaborated with Typo Negative, which did the song best known for, I guess, um, Black Number One, right? So we have John Shirley, who wrote the screenplay to the movie The Crow, and it's been one of my biggest supporters and encouraged me in my writing, along with Ellen Maybe here. And then we have Michael Hansen, who created the Shada Shared Universe series, which he published hundreds and hundreds of stories. And Hazel Ann Lynch, who created Senior Fluffy, a cat's tale, and she's a delightful sort of businesswoman, entrepreneur, um, and she's also contributed a poem, to about Bauhaus to this book, and Aaliyah, our delightful Pickles, I call her Pickles, um, Aaliyah Celeste Williams, and we did a book together, which got a rave review in Cemetery Dance magazine, called Thunderstruck, a dark poetry collection. And so this was, and it's being blurbed by Sharon Mescal LaVey, the high priestess in the Church of Satan, which I'm not a Satanist, don't get me wrong, but I don't, but my stuff has been kind of, they like it for some reason. I don't know why. And so I guess maybe the themes, like, right, is paganism. It's dark, it's witchy, it's erotic, it's it's really very goth, And so let's I want to talk about like how, I know we've discussed this previously, but how you got on the radar of Henry Rollins.
Um, well, I guess I would say probably, Exene and and Michael Blake and different people we all met at the Iguana.
Right.
They were friends with Tom and Patty, and so and I don't know, I'm trying to think how it would be that I don't know if Exene heard something, me read something, or I don't know. I'm trying to think, but she wanted me to, she said, I've never done this, but I'd like to show your work to Henry, and just
Yeah.
see. And,
Yeah.
and he resonated. He really liked Fido, the
Oh, I love
screenwriting
that.
doggy. And
Fido is great.
Thank you. And he just decided to publish it. So it's very, I mean, I feel sometimes I fall into things. I do. You know what I mean? Like even when I
Yeah,
mentioned your, so I think a lot of things just happen. I don't know. But I just think I can't. Can I just say one quick thing?
of
Would you
course.
consider doing a tribute to Stephen Sondheim book?
You know, Ellen, I can never say no to you. Of
Well,
course I
no,
will.
you
Of
should if
course I
it's not.
will.
Oh, we would. Oh my
Of
God, I
course
could
I
tell.
will. Of
I
course I
know.
will.
You know, James Palacio, different people I know would be so excited to.
Of course I will.
Oh, that.
What a great
Oh,
idea.
that's so
I would
exciting.
never even I would never even think of that. That's so
Wow.
natural.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
that be
yeah.
exciting? Oh, yay.
Oh my
You know
gosh,
what?
of course I
I'm
would.
here
Of
for.
course I would. Yeah, man.
Oh,
I
he's so
mean,
great.
we did that Leonard Cohen tribute
Mhm.
with people like Rick Lupert um and Daniela Wachu, right? And Joe Pulver, the late great Joe Pulver. I've got that right here because I'm a little, you know, with every day kind of I'm sort of I think about um Jordan Gallagher, you know, and we lost in 2020. We also lost Joe Pulver and ran around the same time. And so I actually Michelle Fairchild, my dear friend Michelle Fairchild, who was kind of the long story, really we don't really have time to get into Michelle, but she and I, were really good friends. I met her through my ex-wife, and she was one of my bridesmaids as well. And then we've been in touch ever since, and we were mutuals with Jordan. And Jordan used to call me up every week. We'd have long talks about like Thomas Wolfe, and she taught a course at at UCLA with Kate Braverman, right? The late Kate Braverman also died around the same time. So she was just, you know, a really incredible woman, an amazing person, really, and everybody loved her, men, women, just she was just a knockout. And so Michelle sent me one of her poems from 1993, which I'm going to be publishing in the Junk Merchants. It's an expanded version of the book. There was so much in the Junk Merchants too, that I decided that I was going to put out a little snackins, right? And the snackins, right? That was just one fix, a literary
Oh,
salute to William S. Burroughs, right?
oh,
And I'm still working on contributors' copies. I'm gradually sending them out. And this had, among other things, it had like John Shirley wrote the screenplay to The Crow, who called me the Baudelaire of our time. And Aaliyah is in there. Sandy DeLuca is in there. Michael Hansen, Ma Yangbo, the great Chinese poet, and then Alexis Roan Fancher. You know, I was just talking with Catfish McDarris, right? And we're going to have him and you're of course you're extremely welcome. Of course, Ellen and Amelie on the 18th as well, if you like, because we're going to have like Eileen Mish Murphy, and Alexis, um, Roan Fancher, and Catfish McDarris, Stephen Catfish McDarris, and then Pickles just went back to her job at Taco Bell. She kind of had to, so we may not be joined by her, but anyway, there's just so much to discuss. I mean, you know, this has a original poem by David J. Haskins who wrote Bela Lugosi's Dead. I'm just, it just blows my mind, right? I mean, for anybody who's just a fan of culture in general, that song alone has sort of launched. I mean, people have, I mean, the music of Bauhaus is really kind of is one of those such a primal, important band that it's kind of accompanied the sound, been the soundtrack to people's lives. I know for Rick Looper, certainly, he's been a lifelong fan of, Love and Rockets and Bauhaus, and same here for me for 40 years. And so it was just incredible gift that, you know, David J. Haskins, gave us an original poem. I'm just, I'm still, what? What? He wrote Bela Lugosi. He not only wrote Bela Lugosi's Dead, he wrote Stigmata Martyr, which was in the movie, was Night of the Demons, right? And oh my gosh, so anyway, Karma Bums. I think I want to talk about Karma Bums. So tell me about Karma Bums.
The
Yeah,
Karma
yeah,
Bums.
yeah.
You
You
want
should
Ellen's
tell.
answer or
Oh
mine?
no, no, you
Well,
should start. You
both
sound
of
great.
you, Emily, and then Ellen.
No,
Yeah.
you start because you're starting. Yeah.
The Karma Bums were a group of performance artists slash poets slash artists who um, enjoyed doing improvisational work and stand-up poetry um, live at venues throughout California. Um, they traveled once in a bus that they tried to keep together, and they traveled in S.A. Griffin's Cadillac,
Oh, wow.
and they would take Ellyn with them and other artists to perform. They were S.A. Griffin, Mike Millette, Michael Bruner, Scott Wanberg, Doug Knott, and a musician songwriter named Bobo Starin. And they were together. Well, I don't know exactly when they started. Ellyn has a closer history with them than I do, but I published their book, Twisted Cadillac.
Oh, wow. That's right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the
that's
first time we pulled all of the Karma Bums into one book. And that was quite an undertaking, having all those personalities contributing and mixing it up. But when the book came out, we did a tour of words in 1996 together from San Diego all the way up to San Francisco and even into the Gold Country,
Oh,
which
wow.
was a lot of fun and a lot of mayhem. Oh boy, a
Oh
lot
my
of
gosh.
mayhem.
yeah. Was that Murphy? Was that the Murphy show? Was that?
Murphy's, yeah, during
Oh
the
my God.
fires where we couldn't,
Oh
we
man.
had to share hotel rooms because the motel rooms because the firemen were getting all the extra motel rooms, remember? Because there were
Mhm.
huge forest fires at the
Yeah.
time.
Yes. And didn't they? I think, Essay and maybe Dagnat. And then I'm trying to think if maybe I'm trying to think there was a group that was before called the Lost Tribe. And then some of the people
That
that
was
ended up being in the
Millette.
con and Millette, yeah. And yeah, in each state, like I mean, Millette and the different did like mud people, so there's different things
Oh my
and
gosh.
different things that yeah. But Elsie Griffin, he was the first time I read one, she was at Midnight Special, I signed up, but I signed up maybe I'll read because I couldn't believe it was gonna even be possible. And he just said, yeah, that should be here, and he knew how shy he goes. And so he sort of said, that's your name, and I like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And he's so very nice person, wonderful person, and just I don't know, he's just
Who
he
essay?
actually used to
Who
essay.
essay?
Yeah,
Oh, he
isn't
makes the best macaroni and cheese on earth.
Oh,
he's just wonderful. And so I mean, those shows were adventures for sure. I mean, I flew in they at the in '89 when we did that tour, I flew into New Mexico. I think because I was working at a record store and I couldn't come quite till that time, and they got me. It was so dramatic. It was so adorable. They're like, what, and it was just it was just really neat. I couldn't believe some of these things because it went so quick from like being so nervous to read to like traveling. It felt like things were just happening. And there was a lot of things. Remember, I mean, just it's not that it's long, but not that long. People didn't have computers really or internet or it was a whole different world. So things were going on and people have the flyers and they, come out and there was people would find ways to let people know that these things were happening. And touring wasn't as common then. It was just giving out covers. It was just a totally different time, but it was very exciting. And they had such like a familial intensity as a group. They had their own dynamics, and that's, that can be, very gifted people, just incredible imagistic work and performers and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I once did a show Mike Bruna directed called Stories of Civilized Crime, and I memorized Ball and Chain. I don't know how I could even do that. I
Oh
mean,
my
I just
gosh,
sit there, and
one
it
of my
was
favorites.
shocking. And then I don't know, I can't even imagine how that could be. But it was just a special era. And like just like Bebop Records was a special era. That record store in Reseda, and then Iguana Cafe. I think that was one of the most special years. And I mean, like Amelie and Matthew, all of us met. I mean, so many people really met and still, know each other that are like it's just I think that was a very fruitful era, like a kind of epic time in like that. And and I always think because they didn't have, they may had it real quiet, like you could even have like a machine like for soda with, but that would be interrupting the music. It was very respectful of artists. It was magical. And so I think it was a very just incredible era to, and then so many people were appreciative. The musicians and the poets respected each other's work a lot. It was
Oh yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
Wasn't Exene part of that? Um, yeah.
I mean, she would sometimes, yeah, because she and she knew Tom and Patty. I don't know. I'm trying to think if she knew them from older days or how exactly, but
Oh,
seems
there,
like, Michael Blake. See, there
sure.
were people that would come and do different stuff, but it was like you could just be there. They'd have like say I don't know, like there'd be an open mic, then there'd be like a show at like 9, then there'd be a
Oh
midnight
my
show. You
gosh,
would just
yeah,
be there, like it felt like, and traffic was different in those days. It was
right,
easier to get around, and you would just go there, and you would just always be there. It was like you were there, like it's
sure.
you. It's now. I'll tell you one thing. Beyond Broke is terrific, but completely different. The crowds, because I've worked there a few times, it is so great, but it's not. Like you could see in the same day if there's two or three shows, it's going to be two or three different people, and it's still a very, very special place, but a different place because it's it was just different, but
Yeah,
also very, very amazing too, but different. It's an Iguana was like around from like 89 to 95.
right,
That was amazing. I mean, it's just excuse me, it feels very vivid just to think about it, you
right.
know?
And then there was the Bebop Cafe. Tell me about that.
Okay, that
I,
was
I think
actually.
you didn't you meet Robbie there or
Oh, no, no. Sorry, the Bebop record store. So it was a record
oh
store that
Bebop
was it
Records.
was pretty,
Reseda.
yeah. It was like I think it closed around 88 or 89. It was
Okay,
around, and it was a record store that had a space in the back where they had concerts. Even know what? I wonder if I think Exceed in General they played there. They
oh
knew
wow,
Richard, who they did some shows there. Victoria Williams, so maybe it could be even earlier when you think of because different. Because I came back from New York in '87,
right,
so and I found, the Bebop was very nice to go to. They made their own Richard Brulin, they ran it, made his own very beautiful flyers. So each
nice,
show he did these great flyers, and I think they're in the archives of
Yeah.
art at CISA now. That was a special place, and it was unbelievable, really cool place. And then it was just wild that how it just sort of happened that one place closed, the other one opened. There was this, and it was really interesting because they had similar essences. They were different but similar. They were also very attentive. People were there where the shows vary. They had poetry at the at Bebop Records and acoustic shows and stuff and all different stuff. I mean, yeah, it's kind of wild that, and these were, one was in Reseda and one was in North Hollywood. So there was a lot going on in the valley at that time.
Mhm.
I mean, there still may be a lot, but I mean, there was a lot of, I mean, I still think of it like pre-internet. I mean, people were like, it was just wild. It's hard
Right.
to believe like it's in our lifetime that
Exactly.
it was completely different life, with the internet and
Exactly.
just the way people, and then even now there's even more of a different life. Thank goodness for Zoom, like
Sure,
what we
right?
can do,
Zoom is
that we're all in
incredible.
different parts. It's amazing. I still very appreciative of it all.
Yeah, I mean that
You
kind of
know?
saved the Cobalt poetry thing from with that Rick Lupert was has been doing for like a long time, right?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Like
Very.
20 years or something like that.
Oh,
Mhm.
longer than that.
20,
Yeah.
yeah, much longer than that. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah, I was watching
Yeah.
some of your shows. I mean, you did with him, and then with another show you were talking, and so one of the things that I was conceiving about with this book, because it's not often that you have a living artist of such magnitude, and so of
Oh.
course I take this job incredibly seriously. I mean, so I wanted to do this kind of like an oral biography. As part of it is an oral biography. So everybody who knows you and loves you and has been part of your, like the book. There's been many great oral biographies, but I'm thinking of the Jack Kerouac oral biography, and also there was a really good book called "Please Kill Me," right, by Legs Diamond, which is like the oral history of punk rock, and where you talk to people like Iggy Pop and Lou Reed, and I want to do something like that with you, because those books really captured not just individual personalities. One thing that I find so amazing, the more I dig and do research and kind of and am involved with, personally with these people, these historical figures, is that there's a much bigger narrative that I pieced together that's really encompasses all of our lives. One, just for one example, exactly. Um, you want to talk about? I'll just use the example of the Crow. Now, James O'Barr was in Berlin in 1978, along with one David Bowie. Okay, the same time. He was inspired by a band called Bauhaus. In fact, it was originally the character of the Crow, the facially was Peter Murphy, and the he used a lot of the lyrics from those great songs by Joy Division and Susie and the Banshees and Bauhaus, of course, um, in the Crow, which was basically based on reality. It was a very, very sad kind of story, and he also succumbed as struggles with addiction, as does you know John Shirley and historically Billy Martin and Caitlin Kiernan, and I don't think I'm saying anything that people that they're very forthcoming about their problems, and as well as Carrie Lee Crum, but there's all of these connections between, for instance, Bowie and William S. Burroughs, right? As well as between Bowie, William S. Burroughs, and Christopher Isherwood, the author of the Berlin Diaries, which inspired, of course, Cabaret, which I'm sure that Ellen is, is probably a fan of Cabaret. I know I am, right? And and oh my gosh, and then Christopher Isherwood was part of our, you know, our church, the Vedanta Society. Or he wrote, he was an editor for Vedanta Press and in Hollywood, and as well as, which is where Carrie Lee Chrome lives. Carrie Lee Chrome was a friend of Nico from, obviously, Velvet Underground and Nico, and who was also an actress who was in La Dolce Vita, right? And then you have so and then you have Amelie, who works with, Billy Bob Thornton, right? And who is also a musician who was a close friend of Lemmy Kilmister. And so there's all these connections, and so it's more and more apparent that you cannot separate out. You can't say, oh, so and so is. I would argue that Ellen Mabey is one of the very, very, very few people that I'm aware of who is an absolute original. I mean, just think about it. Like, there's a reason that Ellen's in the Outlaw Bible, because all these people, and no matter what our influences are, obviously we have shared influences of people like Allen Ginsberg, and for me it's Burroughs a lot, but also Ginsberg, I mean, Ellen and I share a lot of influences, but it's who also inspired the Beatles, right? And Jim Morrison. But there's very few people who are absolute originals, original voices. It comes one in a million, and Ellen is one of those people. And I think for a very joyous and powerful and important voice for our time, because we're facing some really horrific circumstances, horrific circumstances. And we're faced with the downfall of the American Republic. We're faced with they're they're literally rounding people up. There's unmarked vans that are going around disappearing people off the street, right? We're El Salvador. We've turned into Nazi Germany. And so the present moment is stupefyingly horrific. And so the only my only response that I could think of that would do any good is to shut off the news and start focusing 100% of all of my attention and energy into writing and putting out these books and collaborating with, people like you. I mean, both of you. I mean, because I know so many people are just paralyzed. They literally cannot function, right? So, I wanted to read actually, like from my poem that I was published in Silence is Consent, and then if maybe Ellen could, and then I want to read an Ellen Maybe poem, and then I was wondering if Ellen could read the poem that I sent her. Um,
Oh,
so so this is called Ideological Rot, and if you want to support the efforts of Silences Consent, it's edited by Christopher Bogart, and it's just recently out from uh, Amazon, and it's in support of organizations such as American Civil Liberties Union, Southern Poverty Law Center, Democracy Docket, Americans of Conscience, and Indivisible. So these are all great, um, great resources, and it's um, and so important. ACLU has been so important. Southern Poverty Law Center. And so this is called Ideological Rot. attacks within the unsung symphony, collapse heart notes together, brutalizing us, searing our minds with corruption as the hammers smash down walls that separate the sane from the unsane. Heated rhetoric sears the air. Pushed against the wall of seeping word wounds. Hatred unfurls like a flag of scorch, permanent stain on the horizon. Please be kind. Words signify. License can kill. Bad words that thrill the mass mind. Sitting on the pink meat like a virus, neither dead nor fully alive. And this is a very important book. And it has
Yeah.
people like William Taylor Jr., um, right? Thank you. Who won the Kathy Acker Award for his work in 2013. And he's also in the Junk Merchants, and as well as Rick Lupert is in the book. Our amazing friend Rick Lupert, brilliant Jewish man, poet. He runs the Cobalt Poetry cafe thing, and on Zoom now, and and then Patricia Kerrigan and Dr. Jan Steckel, who's also in the Neurospicy, and I'm going
Yeah.
to talk about Neurospicy a
It's
little bit.
beautiful. When you posted, how it looks and how it is, it's
Yeah,
gorgeous. It's
thank you.
gorgeous.
Yeah, that's
It's
Adrian
beautiful.
Baldwin. Adrian Baldwin did that. He did all of that
So,
stuff.
wow. It's really a good kindred collaboration you guys have because it really is nice with that. It
Thank you.
looks
Yeah, I
great.
mean, all I have to do is suggest something, and he'll come up with something like that. I mean, he's so amazing, and I get him for cheap. And so, so yeah, Neurospicy. So Neurospicy is the product of actually it comes out of We Are Gregor, a disability rights anthology, and which is kind of how everything got started originally, um, a little more than a year ago, I think. At this point, I've lost track of time because of the brain disease, but the impetus for We Are Gregor a lot of it came out of, you know, and Amelie and Ron Whitehead and Christina Deptula, Jade Thomas, who's the 15-year-old daughter of Jeffrey Thomas, the dark fiction author. And then we had so many people, Jan Steckel on board, um, and um, um, Griffin, Spencer Griffin is in the book. And then we have Neurodivergent Rebel, Lyric Rivera, and Carmela Voyes, and then Tara Van Flower from Lycia again. And a lot of people in our community are autistic. And I kind of wanted to talk about that because and there's a lot of overlap as well with between neurodivergency and people being queer or identifying as queer or transgender. And which I find absolutely fascinating. And it appears that there's similar areas of the brain that are involved, and with with autism, and I did some research that I published on the academia.edu, which Amelie has read several times because I see, oh, so and so has read, your article or whatever. It was my research. And so I wanted to talk about neurodivergency, and I wanted to talk about how um, you both feel, how your neurodivergency has affected you in just in general.
I want to bring up one unfortunate aspect of my neurodivergency, which is anxiety.
Okay.
And in that we have hit the 1 hour mark.
Oh, okay. So,
And we were going to have Ellen read before
oh,
the.
okay. Yeah, so, right. No worries. I mean, that's actually really good. I don't mean to say that I'm glad that you have anxiety, but that it's kind of really good for practical purposes. So I would love to have Ellen read. Yeah.
We can also, I can read it, do you would it be best to do like a part two together?
We could
Would
do a
that
part
be,
two. Yeah.
does that seem like, would that be, it's
Always
really,
a possibility.
That's a
Yeah.
possibility. Yeah, why don't we do
because,
that? Because Emily is recovering,
yeah,
and so yeah, why don't we do so whenever it would be convenient for both of you.
yeah. Do you want me to, should I just read your poem or should
Yeah, could
we
you? I
wait?
would I would love that, and then we'll
Okay.
wrap it up. Yeah,
Okay, because it's there's always a lot of interesting. It goes to many different interesting places, but you need to rest, too, because recuperating so many times people can get what you call is it called rebound. Sometimes you have to really take care,
for
and
sure. Yeah,
but yeah, no, but I'm glad we can all be on together. It's nice, very nice to reminisce together and learn more about each other too. And yeah, so let me read this and yeah, we should. You know what I think? I don't know. I was saying I'm more nocturnal. There was something nice about this being later in the day. I know
right.
it sounds weird. I like this more because I go to bed like it's total morning, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm not, I'm so weird. I'm always been nocturnal, but I don't know for you guys, this is like a good time to like kind of hone in. It's neato. So let me read this and
It is,
let me,
Nita.
I made it bigger, but I want to make it bigger. And then I somehow, the paper was doing like different things. It was coming out, not having stuff on it. So let's hope I can. I always make things bigger. I'm very
You're
nearsighted.
a
I'm very
trip, Ellen.
nearsighted.
Oh my gosh.
So let's see what we got here. But yes, this is Sticky with Perfume by Alex S.
And
Johnson for
and that's
Ellen
and that's a
Maybe.
line from one of your poems.
It's neat. You really have, it's interesting about your imagery. It's really cool and
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So here you go. Sticky with perfume, she clears her head of cosmic cobwebs, bracing on the dorsal fin of a white whale. Tracing the lack of connection between the doors of perception and the latchkey kids of the kingdom of heaven, proving the metal of the real gold bullion alphabet soup, drinking deep from the font, Times Roman, dingbats, or is it metal macabre today? Kian Sabe. Art is dangerous as love is, and equally fun and exciting. There's no outside from which we are excluded. Everything and nothing gets stuck, as sticky as a flypaper ashtray where hipster cigarettes are stubbed out and the cherry on top of the world's most Sondheim. Yay, yay. Multi-floor, multi-level cake that takes itself shopping or rolling around in the grass barefoot, feeling the soft cushion of the earth's rolling cheeks. So yay, Alexis Johnson, sticky with
Yeah,
perfume.
man.
But let's do hugs and we'll come back and resume together another.
Awesome.
How's that?
That sounds
Yeah.
great. Sounds like a plan, Stan.
Oh, this is fun. This is fun and collective hugs and pause and
Pause.
everything. But thank you for facilitating. This is and Amelie, I hope you continue to feel better. I'm glad you're feeling, you're getting on
COVID's
the,
gone. The COVID is all gone, thank
but
goodness.
it takes, it's a residue, of, just it takes a lot out of one, I'm sure, just in the, it's intense, but I'm so glad we could be together. And yeah, let's try to do this again soon when we can be together. And
Exactly.
like, I'm excited,
I'm
and
excited
then
too.
so I thank you for even this hope of a Sondheim anthology. It
Thank
makes me
you.
so excited.
Oh,
I'm
oh
just like
no.
so happy.
I
Hmm?
mean, your wish is my command, my dear, and like
Oh
I would
God.
do
Well, only
anything for you.
if I don't
Yeah.
want you to feel like pressure,
No,
but
no, no,
it
no,
would
no,
be
no.
so, he's so exciting. Sondheim rocks. Sondheim rocks. And you know
Okay,
what? It would be good.
okay. So just your enthusiasm is enough for me. So we'll get started on that one, my dear. Okay,
Oh, thank you.
okay. I love you.
Oh,
I love you too
okay,
so much.
love you guys. Take good care. See you
Take
guys
good
soon.
care.
Guys,
Good
Okay.
take
night.
care as well. Stay healthy.
Thank you, guys. You guys be well.
Be well.
Talk
Bye.
soon.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.